If I told you that an old phone charger could be turned into an antenna, many people probably wouldn't believe it. Today, I'm going to try to turn that idea into reality, and the final result might surprise you. First, I remove the circuit board from inside the charger to prepare it for modification. Next, I use a drill to make a hole at the location of the charging cable port. This hole will be used to route the wires outside and prepare the charger for the next assembly steps. In the next step, I remove the two metal plug pins from the charger. Then, I strip the ends of two wires to expose the copper cores inside. This prepares the wires for electrical connection and improves conductivity. After that, I feed the wires through the holes where the charger pins were mounted. I'll leave a small section of exposed copper at the ends to create electrical contact points. Next, I reinstall the two metal plug pins into their original positions. Then, I gently tap them into place to secure both the pins and the wires firmly. This creates a stable mechanical and electrical connection for the antenna system in the next stages of the build. Here, I have an old motorcycle valve stem, and I'm going to use it as the antenna's receiving element. First, I insert the valve stem into the hole I drilled in the charger housing. Then, I tighten the nut to secure it firmly in place. This component will serve as both the support and the connection point between the receiving element and the antenna wiring. Next, I use a long bolt as the mounting shaft for the signal reflector. First, I clamp the bolt in a vise and tighten it securely. Then, I use a cutting tool to remove the hex out of the bolt. After that, I grind the end of the bolt against the cutting disc to make it smaller and pointed. This makes it easier to fit the bolt into the other antenna components while creating a stronger connection. Next, I feed the blue wire through the hole in the center of the valve stem. Then, I strip the insulation from the end of the wire to expose the copper core. Finally, I insert the bolt into the valve stem and tighten it against the exposed copper wire. This securely clamps the wire in place, while creating a reliable electrical connection between the wiring and the antenna's receiving element. In the next step, I use a wire skimmer as the main signal reflector for the antenna. Here, I have a copper connector, which I will use to join the antenna wires together. First, I cut a short piece of copper rod to serve as the wire connector. Then, I wrap the remaining antenna wire around the copper rod to create the connection. Next, I solder the joint with a layer of solder. The solder strengthens the connection, improves electrical conductivity, and prevents the wire from loosening during use. Next, I drill a hole in the center of the charger cover. After that, I reinstall the cover and route the antenna wire through the hole. Then, I connect the antenna wire to the copper connector attached to the wire skimmer. Next, I apply hot glue and firmly secure the skimmer to the charger body. At this point, the main signal reflector of the antenna is complete. In the next step, I use an aluminum beer can to create a secondary reflector. First, I drill a hole in the center of the bottom of the can. Then, I sand the bottom until it becomes thin. After sanding, I separate a circular metal disc from the bottom of the can. This metal disc acts as a secondary reflector, helping direct more signal toward the receiving element. Next, I mount the metal disc onto the antenna bolt and tighten it securely. Finally, I install a copper spring at the center of the main reflector. Next, I use a long signal cable to connect the antenna to the TV. First, I strip the insulation from one end of the cable to create a connector. This exposes the copper core and prepares it for the next wiring step. Then, I attach this end to a TV connector. This connector allows the cable to plug directly into the TV's antenna input. Next, I wrap electrical tape around the joint to strengthen the connection and protect the exposed contact points. At the other end of the signal cable, I create another connector in the same way. Here, I have an old electrical socket, and I will reuse it as the connection point between the antenna and the signal cable. First, I disassemble the outer housing of the socket. Then, I connect the signal cable to the two metal terminals inside the socket. Once the wiring is complete, I reassemble the socket housing. Finally, I plug the antenna into the completed socket. Now, I'm going to test it in real-world conditions to see how effective it really is. First, I'll switch to a TV channel to check the signal reception without connecting the antenna. As you can see, without the antenna connected, the TV only displays the message, no signal. Next, I'll connect the DIY antenna to the signal input on the back of the TV for the actual test. And here is the result. Almost immediately after connecting the antenna, the TV channels begin to appear. The picture is clear, the colors remain stable, and there are no continuous signal interruptions. To make the test more convincing, I'll perform one more experiment. I disconnect the antenna from the TV and observe the signal changes. As soon as the antenna is unplugged, the screen instantly returns to the no signal message. Now, I'll reconnect the antenna once again. As you can see, within just a few seconds, the channels reappear and continue working normally. If you enjoyed this project or found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support motivates me to continue creating more repair, recycling, and DIY projects in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.